On the road the last few weeks, did it catch up to you? It looked like you had a rough weekend.
Yeah, we did, Brad. We played on the road. Our first 4 games since Christmas have been on the road, or since New Year's, I should say. And I thought we really struggled, especially the last game. We played a really good game against Dixie, lost a tough 5-point game, and then we went to Fresno Pacific just 48 hours later. And got way behind, caught up, but I felt like we'd been on the road 14 of the last 17 days, so not an excuse. It just happened, but we're in good spirits, and I think we're still in pretty good position as our schedule levels out here the second half.
Yeah, you have no road games until the second week of February, so a chance to get your students into class, get rested up, get healed up a little bit. You're home this Saturday afternoon. For fans want to check them out at 3 o'clock. That's Saturday. The girls' game is earlier at 1. That's over at GCU. What do you see out of your team at this? You're about the midpoint of the season. You start to get a feel about, okay, postseason is beyond us right now, but you probably have a good feel about this team?
I really do. I like the way we've been playing, and even in our 2 losses, we did some stuff that I liked. We just, I think we're starting to get healthy too, Brad. We've had 2 knee injuries that guys have missed time. Steve Morin and Jerome Garrison have both missed some time, and they're just now rounding back into shape. You get healthy by trainers' standards, and they say you can play, but if you haven't been playing basketball and you don't have a rhythm, it still takes you a few days and sometimes a few weeks. And so I'm looking forward to this week. We get practice time, and that's what we needed. I think we've eroded just a little bit because we haven't been on the floor together.
Right.
And when you're playing as many games as we have, you just try to manage your legs, and you sometimes on the opponent's floor, they only give you an hour to practice, and you got to get shooting in and a scouting report and practice, and sometimes you need just some good old time in the on the floor to get better. And I know this morning we went for about 2.5 hours, and it was really good. So I do like where we're at, and we just have to tighten some things up and get back to playing the way we were a couple weeks ago.
Russ Pennell Show every week. GCU head basketball coach Russ Pennell. They're home this coming Saturday. Check them out just after 3 o'clock on campus. The Russ Pennell Show with us every Tuesday, 14-4 on the season. All right, it's ASU U of A week. I know you're focused on your team, but you see what's going from afar. What do you make out of, I've said on the air, it's a bigger game for ASU than it is for the U of A this week.
I would agree with that, and for a couple reasons. Obviously, ASU is trying to kind of establish themselves as someone that people talk about coming off of last year, and the fact they're at home. And I think that, I was listening to you right before I came on when you were talking with Steve Kerr, and then at the end when you mentioned that, ASU's got to beat somebody of significance. They've played well. They've done a nice job. I thought the Oregon trip was very close to being a sweep for them. Mm-hmm. And yet they've got to get over that hump, and the best way to do that is to play someone that's ranked as high as U of A. So this will be an interesting game just for ASU, but also U of A. They can't afford to be inconsistent, and they've got to start, especially if they're thinking about seeding and everything else, they need to get a little more consistent, and you have to kind of find that on the road.
And Sean's got a young team. I mean, he's got 3 freshmen that are just terrific for them this year, but at some point, wouldn't you say, and you see it with your team, you have that freshman wall that your kids hit at some point that first year?
Absolutely. And I think it's about this time of year. It's interesting. My daughter's a high school player, and they're down to like 6 games left. So most high school kids, my point is, they're seeing, high school kids seeing the end real quick. Well, as college players right now, they're only about halfway through the season. And I think that when the practice time and everything else you have to put into that first year, and you don't have that experience, a freshman can hit some lulls about this time of year. And, and these kids have played, obviously, at prep schools and AAU and everything else, but it's different. Until you go through it, until you've traveled and been to these places one time, you're inexperienced.
Yeah, it's kind of like Ohio State and Michigan over the weekend. I thought Michigan looked a little flat from what I've seen out of them this season. I mean, they hit a wall.
Well, you've seen that with Duke. Injury has obviously played a factor in that. U of A went down, Michigan went down, and actually at our level, West Liberty, the number 1 ranked team in the country, got beat last night. And this is the time of year, and that's what I've kind of told my team, is you're going to have a little slump from time to time. Sometimes you can win in a slump, but you're still not playing as good as you want to be. And what the good teams do, they figure out how to get out of that and get back on a roll. And I think this time of year that you're talking about, mid-January, it's tough. You got to keep going, and everyone's still searching just for that chemistry to make that run into March. And I think it's the same for whether you're U of A and ranked fourth or you're ASU and you're looking for respect.
One other question about ASU U of A, talking with Russ Pennell, and that is Nick Johnson and Jahi Carson. I've had both of them on this show in the last couple of months. They both talked about, in particular Nick, how the two of them were teammates when they were 9 playing club ball. Now, I would have liked to have seen that club ball team first and foremost, but you've been here in the Valley long enough and in the state long enough in various capacities. Those two have been on radars all the way back to junior high school. Are you surprised at how either one is playing in their collegiate run?
No, I think they're playing up to expectations. And, when Nick got into high school, he actually played for myself and Mark Nelson over at Arizona Premier. He was on some of our teams along with his brother Chris, and wonderful family, wonderful kids. And I think this is what probably everyone assumed would happen for Jahi and for Nick. And I'm excited for the state of Arizona, and I'm excited for those kids because they're both wonderful kids, that they're living up to the billing. And I think it's really neat that they're going to go against each other on Saturday and hopefully many more times. I know both of those schools would like to see them go against each other a few more times than just this year. But I think it bodes well for the state of Arizona, Brad, and shows that we can produce guys of this caliber.
When you've got one in Cameron Boone, Mountain View kid, who's come over there this season, had a terrific year last year. How's he been for you this season?
As of late, he's really turned it on. The other day, he scored 8 points in 10 minutes in a span that he was really good. And, I think the biggest thing for Cameron has been 2 things. Number one, he's playing behind a really good player named Braylon Pickerel, who's had a great career for us, and actually he was voted preseason player of the year. So getting minutes has been a little bit of a challenge, but I think even more so, we're moving Cameron away from the goal. When he played for Coach Gary Ernst, he was more of a low-post guy. Cameron has some great perimeter skills, and we're kind of playing as a face-up 4. That's been easy for him on the offensive end. Where he struggled a little bit is guarding people on the perimeter. And he's worked really hard at it over the last few weeks, and he's played more and more as we go along, and I see him being a big factor down the stretch. And, the biggest thing with Cam is he's impatient with himself. He wants everything to happen right now, and I keep telling him it's a journey he's on, and he's got to just take it day by day and practice by practice. But I'm really happy with him, and I think we've got a real diamond in the rough with Cameron.
He made a good decision to stay here because he could have gone elsewhere, right?
Yeah, he had some good offers to go elsewhere, and I think that Cameron is a kid that a lot of people felt like he didn't have a position. He's a short 6'6", but his arm and his wingspan makes him about a 6'8", 6'9" guy. Yeah. And we believe that he's going to be just a really nightmare of a matchup at the 4 spot because he's extremely quick, extremely explosive, and he's strong as an ox. And I think that he's going to be able to play a little inside-outside for us as he continues to mature.
Hey, before I let you go, so SC blows out Kevin O'Neill. Texas Tech has got an interim in place already. How many jobs do you think this year? I mean, it's always 10, 15. Could it be even more?
I think it could be this year, Brad. I really do. I think you just look around and there's some people toward the end of their contracts and some people that maybe haven't lived up to kind of their billing, and it's going to be interesting. It's going to see what people do and how they move on and what they're looking for. And that's a thing that is always it's always mixed emotions. Because I truly hate seeing people lose their job, because what people don't see is not only did Kevin O'Neill lose his job, and he's going to get paid, obviously, right. He's got a staff that's lame duck. I've been in that position. I was in that position at U of A, and I hated it when Coach Olson had to retire because it spelled the doom for the rest of us. Everyone's landed on their feet and done well, but it really affects a lot of families and a lot of lives. And so, I know there are some coaches sit around and all they do is surf the internet to see who's losing their job. I've never been one of those guys. I don't like seeing that happen.
Yeah. Well put. Stay well. See you soon.
Okay.